Hello, lovers, and welcome to another episode of Starring Cupid, the podcast where we talk about your favorite or least favorite couples and romantic pairings in films and TV shows. It's your boy, Zama, nothing more, nothing less, from the east, not the west. Don't call, just text. And today is very important to me. Like, it might be one of my top podcasts, and I know there's only two to choose from, but hear me out. This is one of my favorite fictional couples because if you do not know me personally, you might be shocked to find out that I have a serious love, call it a fixation, with Disney princess movies. I've watched all of them. I love most of them. I have so much random Disney princess trivia in my mind, and this is my favorite princess couple, none other than my Black Queen, Princess Tiana, and my Black King, Prince Naveen. Without a further ado, let's get into what is possibly the weirdest bad but good movie in the princess franchise. This movie was directed by John Musker and Ron Clements. If you don't know who those two people are, I'm not shocked. I'm the one here that's obsessed with Disney monarchy, so it's fine. They basically are behind some wonderful Disney classics such as Lady Mermaid, wow, Little Mermaid, Hercules, Aladdin, and Moana. I just had to take a moment because what a movie that I can't talk about because there's no romantic. Anyway, essentially Musker and Clements are the GOATs. They're the OGs of Disney. I appreciate them and I appreciate their movies. Amongst the writing team on this movie, we have one black male writer who did the screenplay, and his name is Rob Edwards. Didn't know anything about the man before he was on here, but I have no doubt in my mind that he played a part in making sure that this wasn't a completely racist mess. Because listen, this is the first black princess, and Disney's been around since a long time. A time before black people could even be considered Disney princesses. And I don't think that Disney was at a place in 2009 to make a movie like this and not mess it up. And it's not just me being paranoid. I found posts about all the earlier ideas that Disney had for this movie, and you can see some of them if you go to the IMDb page for this movie. And this thing was going to be disastrous. It was going to be so problematic, not even problematic today. It would have been problematic then. I'm so glad that they either saw the light of day or they were getting too many complaints to go forward. Shout out to all the black people involved in this movie that made sure that it didn't get that bad. And that's saying a lot, because just because it's not horrible doesn't mean that it's a little weird that the first black princess has to spend 70% of the movie being a checks notes animal. But listen, this is only the beginning of the podcast. We're still gonna chat about that. Moving swiftly along to our cast, I have to take a breather and just because it is none other than Anika Nani Rose, talented black queen that we know from movies such as Dreamgirls and For Color Girls, and she is playing Miss Tiana. I think this was such a wonderful choice. Obviously I don't know who was in the running, but for some reason when I saw her name and I realized who she was, it was like yes, this is right, this is correct. And her pipes match Tiana. Her voice kind of matches her attitude. She kind of gives her this nice. Her voice sounds like maple syrup. And Tiana needed that, considering the kind of person she is, which I'll get into later. So, yeah, that was a wonderful casting. And then we have Bruno Campos, who plays Prince Naveen. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot of stuff with Bruno in it. I tried to look for things that I'd seen, but most of them were those crime shows or legal dramas that play, and I don't watch those religiously enough to spot him. But despite being unknown to me, he did a pretty great job in impressing me and convincing me. He only had his voice, we couldn't see anything else that was going on, and he managed to sound charming the whole time. You ignore the little problems with Prince Naveen because he's just so gosh darn charming all the time, and he's this Casanova, and I want to blame it on Bruno and his voice because he pulled through. So shout out to him. We have notable mentions in this cast, such as Keith David, who plays the villain, the antagonist Dr. Facilier, Jennifer Lewis, who plays Mama Odie, and John Goodman as Big Daddy. These are very iconic actors in realistic movies, not animated. I don't know why I said realistic, but that. Besides their acting chops, their voices are quite lovely. They have lovely speaking voices. In the case of Lewis and David, they have lovely singing voices because they kill the solos that they have in this movie. So that was perfect casting from them, and John Goodman just matched. You can put him behind any cartoon and it makes sense. All very enjoyable, all very brilliant. If you have not seen this movie, which is not shocking, I will summarize the plot for you here. It's based off that old fairy tale where there's a prince, but he's a frog, and he has to get kissed by a princess to turn back into a human. And when he does that, he marries the princess. And for some reason, that was meant to be cute. But they turned it around in the sense that now the prince is in deep trouble because he had dealt with a few bad people, namely the voodoo man, and he is cursed. And in Tiana's efforts to help him beat this curse, because they follow the old fairy tale, both of them are turned into frogs, and they now have to navigate this curse and kind of find a cure before terrible, unmentionable things happen. As I mentioned above, earlier drafts of this movie had a completely different plot. So if you don't like the circumstance of this plot, I'm telling you, bro, they could have been worse. Oh my goodness. She was gonna be a maid. Oh, I don't even want to find out the rest. But this is truly the best version of the events. And somehow, in all of this bad, I found a perfect couple to admire. So let's get into Tiana and Naveen. Tiana and Naveen give us that classic opposites attract couple trope. I cannot count how many times we've seen this play out. I didn't even bother to try and Google how many movies this happens in because it's a lot. It's these two people shouldn't work, but they will relationship type that I detest. I'm sorry for the harsh language. Tiana is this hardworking, ambitious woman whose only downfall is really being too focused on success, Charlotte Perry, and generally not being fun. And then you have Naveen on the other hand, who's the spoiled prince on the verge of being disowned if he doesn't learn to be less reckless. And it's a valid thing to have against him because they meet because Naveen was being reckless and he put himself in a dangerous situation. Meeting that way makes them butt heads until deep into the second act. I'm not going to like you if the first time I meet you, you turn me into an animal. And I say I detest this opposites attract trope because it's just annoying. It's annoying that it's being shoved down our throats so many times, and maybe it's annoying because it doesn't make sense to me logically, but the heart wants what the heart wants. But as writers, romantic writers, we get it. We get it. Opposites attract sometimes. Thank you. Can we move swiftly along? That was a bit personal. It was a bit personal. Somehow, in the middle of that smelly, cold bayou, they found a common place to just fall in love. Bestiality aside, I do think the way they fell in love was the way they fell in love was okay. It wasn't necessarily creepy like the other ways that they've dealt with bestiality in their stories. It was a love story that felt like it made sense in real life. Like, okay, humor me for a moment and take away the animation and imagine that these were just two gorgeous young black people going through this situation together. They could still be in the bayou. You could make up some metaphor. I don't know. But just imagine. You would understand why they developed feelings for each other if you saw them in a human state. And I think that kind of shows that this story is not that far-fetched or it's not that bad. Maybe. I don't know. I do enjoy the fact that this love story is not the way that most princess movies have given us love stories, in the sense that on this adventure that they're both going on and this thing that they're experiencing, they fall for each other genuinely. They genuinely develop feelings for each other, and then they also have this thing where they change each other or fix the problems within each other's personalities on the journey along. For example, Tiana becomes a bit more carefree when the journey ends, and Naveen learns the value of being responsible and hard work. Now, realistically speaking, those lessons are not on the same level, and we should never pretend that they are. Me being taught to be more relaxed and carefree is a natural thing it's a natural thing to want someone to change. It's not hindering my life, but you would like me to enjoy life more. I get that. That's a thing that people will want to change in you. Naveen was a child. He was a reckless child. He was on the verge of being disowned. And he gets to learn this like major lesson. And it's annoying because it goes back to this thing where we have to be okay with the fact that boys aren't mature, or they're not the same as us. So we should be happy when we meet someone who is at least willing to change, or at least halfway there. Like, no man, I'm not your mom. I shouldn't be teaching you how to be grown up. But that's how this cookie crumbled, and I still found them admirable. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the wrong one. Maybe I'm the hypocrite. Maybe I'm the bad guy. But that's not important. That's not important. What's important is that they change each other. They equally change each other. They come out of this as different people. Tiana's personality forces Naveen to grow up. Naveen guides Tiana to what everyone else is trying to show her, which is hilarious. My queen just did not get the message. Like, everyone, her mom tried to tell her, her dad tried to tell her, rest his soul. The Firefly tried to tell her, Mama Odie tried to tell her, and no one was getting through. And somehow Naveen did. I appreciate her focus. I'm not gonna lie. Stan. And then another thing that made this story very unique and very beautiful for me is that, yes, there's equal growth and there's equal change in them, but there's significant growth and change in Naveen when it comes to the romantic part of this. In each Disney princess movie, there's a moment that every prince has when you just look at their face and you're like, this right here, this boy is gone. This is a gone boy. Every single prince, if you watch the movies and you pay attention, every single prince has this moment. Naveen experiences this moment when there's a part where they are slow dancing to a song, a very beautiful song and one of my favorites in this film, called My Belle Evangeline, and they're dancing under the light of the stars, figuratively, but also literally the light of the stars. And it's a beautifully animated sequence. And in that sequence, there's a moment where Naveen looks at Tiana like the sun sets in her eyes. He sees the light when he looks at her, and I think it's my favorite of the Gone Boy moments because it's a complete change after that. After that Gone Boy moment, Naveen is a whole new man. He is head over heels in love, the way that they describe princesses to like fall head over heels, and he changes his entire behavior after that. But then things go awry, and it's so sad. Things went awry right before he was about to propose. Like, he had planned it out and everything, and then shit hit the fan, and then he kind of had to put it at the back of his mind because surviving was more important. But once everything was calm and everyone was safe, he had to make a very grown-up decision in a matter of seconds, and he did it. He makes a promise to, there's a character named Charlotte that I will speak about at great length at the end. There's a character named Charlotte, and she is Tiana's best friend. She is a particularly wealthy white woman. Naveen's parents would cease to disown him if he married a woman of status and wealth like Charlotte, which was kind of the thing that the bad guy wanted to do. Now, Naveen has to make a grown-up decision near the very end of this movie. He makes a promise to Charlotte that would mean that he couldn't be with Tiana, but Tiana would be able to have her dream come true. The deal he makes is that he will marry Charlotte if she kisses him, because her kiss is meant to save him, even though he later finds out that he was wrong, but that's a story for another day. He makes a promise to Charlotte that if he marries her and gives Tiana the money she needs to start her restaurant, then he will be with her. He will be with Charlotte. He'll completely forget about Tiana. He loves her so much. I'm not crying. I'm sorry. My voice is just shaking. But that's not the point. He loves her so much that he's willing to let her go because he cares about her dreams more than he cares about... Guys, no one prompted him. No one forced him to do this. He didn't even know that Tiana was watching, but he didn't have to think twice about it. Cry with me, because what? If Tiana had not overheard all of this and told him that she wants to stay with him, it would have been the most romantic gesture and noble thing he has ever done, or most Disney princes have ever done, most realistic men have ever done. Imagine for a moment. Imagine for a moment that you have finally found the love of your life and you have to let them go because it's the only way they'll achieve their dreams. I have to cry. He's one of the top romantic princes to me because of this. I love how much he loved Tiana. I mean, she loved him too. It took her a long time, but it was a decision she made wholeheartedly, and I think that's better than someone being kind of coerced into love. She made a decision that she loves him, but Naveen, he made big decisions that he loves her, and he was ready to commit, and I love that about him. I love that about them. They're a lovely couple, probably one of the healthiest in the franchise, but that's not for me to decide. I'm just a person that watches cartoons. So yeah, I enjoy the way they fell in love. I really do. I think it is cute. It was an admirable way, and imagine how wonderfully they could have expanded upon it if Disney gave us I don't know, man, maybe a live fucking action movie. Guys, I will complain about this in the dislikes, but I'm about to rain hell on Disney. Just wait. Anyway, back to my faves. I love them dearly. They're so cute. I want them to be the couple counselors at the Disney Princess Lunch. Tiana is amazing. Prince Naveen is amazing. And this is a very cute movie. At this point, you might be wondering, Zama, do you actually like this movie? And lover, the truth is, I do. I do like this movie. It's just that it has a lot of problems. And to prove that I do like this movie, we're into what I liked and what I disliked about the film. Starting immediately with the best part of everything. I loved the music. I love the music. Another fun fact about me. Well, 3 fun facts about me. I adore musicals. Movies with songs are amazing to me. I will learn all the lyrics if I love it. I love musicals. I'm a whore for musicals. The second fact about me is I've always had this dream to go to New Orleans in Louisiana. Like, I've always wanted to visit as a tourist, or maybe because I'm doing something, but I've always wanted to just go there. I think it's a very interesting place. So for this movie to be based in New Orleans was just chef's kiss. And then the third fact is, despite my very young age, even though there's no age limit to music, I love jazz. I love jazz. I love jazz so much that I know that Louis the crocodile or alligator, the crocodile in this movie is named after Louis Armstrong, who's one of the best jazz artists of period poo. So small references to jazz music in the music part of the soundtrack and the score. The jazz references because it's in New Orleans. The jazz references in the characters. It was the musical that I've always wanted. I love everything about it. And then they slapped Anika Nani Rose into the soundtrack, and her voice is wonderful for a thing. One of my favorite songs on there, like I said, is Ma Belle Evangeline. It's just a gorgeous song in general. Everything about the soundtrack is lovely except Neo, but I'm not going to talk about that. That's something I enjoyed. I loved. I enjoyed the fact that they made Naveen love Tiana so much, and we need more of that. Or maybe not even just loving her so much, more than he was very open and honest about how much he loved her, and you could see the lengths that he was willing to go to. I don't think princes are allowed to show how much they want to be with their love interests enough, and that was refreshing and that was lovely. The voice acting from everyone, especially Dr. Facilier, was fantastic. I was scared of Keith David for such a long time because besides how he visually looks, Keith David's voice commands attention in such a way that you're scared but you respect him, and now you're seeing him as a shady character that's willing to go through anything to get what he wants. It's this beautiful combination that creates a stellar villain, and I think he knocked it out the park with that one. The animation on everyone is great, but I particularly like how Tiana and Naveen were animated, because side by side, when they're real people, obviously, because I'm not going to talk about how attractive frogs are, I'm going to talk about how attractive cartoons are. Side by side, as when they're real people, Tiana and Naveen are gorgeous. They're very beautiful. Tiana looks like a dream. She's drawn very beautifully. Naveen is also drawn very beautifully. They kind of give him like classic handsome features. They're just beautiful as a couple. And yeah, the animation was the classic 2D that we're used to from Disney princess movies. But they made an effort with these two, and I enjoyed it. They're a striking cartoon couple. I'm one of those people that talks about the beauty of cartoons, Sumi. They look good. They look good. Naveen is easily in the top three top three hottest princes in the franchise. I'm not gonna tell you who the other two are. You make your own choices. I'm just telling you the truth. Then we get to the part where I was like, Sam, this is going to be the longest part because there are so many problems with this thing. I had to cut it down to at least 3. I think there's 3 here. The 3 things that annoyed me the most. Number 1, the fact that they're frogs for 70% of the movie. It's ridiculous. You could have given them lower stakes. You could have lowered the stakes if you wanted them to still go through this pain and this journey. You could have lowered the stakes and kept the integrity of the story. The fact that they're frogs for the whole time, it's boring because now this is the only way we're ever going to get to see them, the only content we'll get to see from them. Especially because, which brings me to my second irritating thing, there's almost 0 content outside of this movie of them. Every other princess in this franchise gets a plethora of things. They could get a sequel. They could get a sequel that goes straight to DVD. They could get a series, clothes, games, dolls, the whole shebang. And Tiana has almost nothing. The only appearance she made after her own movie was in Wreck-It Ralph 2. And that's sad, considering all the other things that other princesses get. Pocahontas, who shouldn't be a princess number 1 and is an insult to Native Americans, has a sequel. They thought it was good enough to make a second one, and this thing gets dust. Disney gave us a pity movie and then they gave us nothing when we liked it. I don't know, man. It smells a bit discriminatory to me. I'm sickened. And then the final thing that really just pushed me is, remember how I mentioned Charlotte, Tiana's best friend? Tiana is blessed because Charlotte is a lovely woman. She's a lovely best friend. And the story does her so dirty. They push this idea of her being this kind of like prince hungry woman, even though she has money, so there's nothing to desire in the wealth of the person that she loves, but they make it all about that. And they kind of make her superficial, even though as a friend to Tiana, she's a lovely human being. And to reward her for making the right decision at the end by rejecting Naveen's offer so that he could be with Tiana, to reward her for making the right decision, they punish her with making her look like a desperado and almost like a pedophile right at the end. Miss Charlotte, sweetie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they did you like this. You deserved way more than they gave you. It was horrible, but I guess this is still my favorite Disney princess movie, so maybe these things don't bother me enough. I don't know. It's that time again where we have our weekly showdown, and I wanted to be on theme this week, and I used 2 OG Disney princess couples that you guys could decide for yourselves, because honestly, this week, I'll be honest, I don't have a fave. I like you more than the other, and I don't think that really counts, but maybe you have a fave. In the left corner, we have Snow White and her man's Prince Florian. If you didn't know that was his name, that's his name, Prince Florian. You know their story: 7 dwarves, poisonous apples, evil stepmothers meeting when they kiss because one of them is dead. You decide how you feel about those people. And then in the right corner, we have the original gangster, the lady with 165 spin-off movies, which makes me more upset about the Tiana thing. We have Cinderella and Prince Charming. I can't even tell you anything new about their story. You know what their story is, even if you've never seen the original movie. Any spin-off movie is exactly what happens in Cinderella. That's all you need to know about them. You decide, as the viewers, the lovers, who your fave is. We'll put up the poll. We'll let you guys know who's superior. I can't even sell these two. I really can't, guys. I really can't sell them. They're just, yeah. So have fun with that. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Hopefully we'll see you again next week. We never know with me. I really could just delete this thing at any given moment. Anyway, have a great time. Be blessed, be happy, and stay in love. This has been Starring Cupid with your boy Zama. Bye.